갑니다.
프린스 월광포.
와!
프린스 왜 저래요?
프린스의 원딜이 이 팀콜에 너무 잘 맞습니다. 원딜이 적당히 하진 않아요.
야, 리브 샌드박스 강하네요.
네, 이렇게 잘해요, 리브 샌드박스!
나이트!
리브 샌드박스! 알아다닙니다. 속격기 클로저. 아직 세상에 낭만이 있구나. 우리는 피오로 간다. DRX 간다. 마스터 킹.
신기가 제카가 하이파이브 짝이죠.
제카. 제카 미쳤어요.
제카 또 들어가요.
와, DRX 한타파기로.
이거 꼭 지금 오늘 롤도사가 지배합니다. 근데
와, 대박!
DRX는 이럴 때일수록 프로에 왜 진출했는지 보여줘야 돼요.
Let's take a look at the points of the match here, which, as we always get for playoffs, it is a super cool video. I love these. Let's jump into the first one. Battle of two teams with momentums pulls apart. Liv Sandbox are on a streak, whereas DRX are not.
Couldn't be more true. Liv Sandbox recently looking way better, and also look the teams that they win against, KT, T1. Some of the teams that have made it to playoffs looking a lot better than DRX has, and for DRX, none of those wins really coming through.
Prospect mid laners on the rise. Definitely both of these teams do have some young talents. Closer, really after getting out from behind the shadow of Faker, has truly taken off here in summer especially. Spring not so much, but you know, he's definitely here now. He has been insane in this mid lane.
Yeah, this is definitely the highlight play of his split. The Akali always was a champion that he used to be good on, but we never really saw that outside of like very individual moments. However, he has been benefiting from the amount of pressure generated by the rest of his team. And for Zeka, first half of the split, one of the best mid laners that we had. And as the split progressed, he was still, I think, together with Deft, the most consistent player on DRX. But by the end of it, wasn't quite enough to string those wins together anymore.
Yeah. See, he's had his fair share of highlight moments, but the core of the meta here at the LCK, it is all about the bot lane. If you have not been watching, we have 3 AD carries in the top 5 of the POG standings here, of our MVP standings, and Prince has been probably the biggest standout, I feel, because we all knew that Ruler was really good. He did stand out himself as well, even going far beyond, but Prince coming in for summer, I don't think we could have expected this good a performance from this guy.
We did not. And a playoff spot for Sandbox when Prince came back in was on the cards. You know, this team very clearly struggled with Envy in the spring split, and him being strong by itself, not surprising, but to this extent, definitely unexpected. And for Deft, I truly think that Deft, had there been a couple of differences in drafts, had his top side been a little more consistent, we will be looking at a completely different DRX. In the first couple of weeks of the split, Deft was looking like he was ahead of Amy, he was ahead of Prince, he was playing incredibly well, and it was the rest of the team that couldn't really keep up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be interesting to see now that he's kind of in his comfort zone here. This guy has played in 14 playoff matches. It's kind of insane, and that's just playoffs actually, not even the matches in those playoffs. So probably even more best of 5s than that. He's been around the block. As we do take a look at some of the team stats here.
Yep.
Yeah. Note that Liv Sandbox, you know, their early game was never really their strong points, and even with the change in meta, I think they've been able to stabilize that early game, but they're not necessarily a team that dumpsters on their lanes or anything like that.
No, it's really about the combination of their jungle and support duo, Kyle and Croco, finding very, very good engages in the mid game, and the team finding power that they have with Dove permanently stuck on a tank where we like him. His win rate on champs like Gwen is not something to write home about. And then Prince, of course, as we had mentioned before, and Liv Sandbox has a very clear identity, and that to me is one of the things that DRX really has been missing, because we've seen some iterations work, you know, a lot of pressure on Zeka to perform on champions like Ahri, but a true identity for this team hasn't been found, and in playoffs, that's a big risk.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we do have a coach's interview. Let's hop into that in just a moment. Very curious to see what these two coaches do have to say about their teams coming into this one, particularly on the side of DRX, because obviously they are the underdogs coming into this matchup. I think you have to have a very specific strategy about what you're going to do against a team which, with this much power. I would imagine that the Live Sandbox side, you know, just mostly comfortable. But again, very curious to see what they do have to say.
Expecting, personally, the side of Sandbox to also have a little bit of a head start in terms of meta read. We've seen champions like Zeri actually fall off, Sivir rising sharply in priority. Sylas is another one that hasn't been performing that well, and these nerfs to laning power and or laning sustain rather, and the buffs to things like Scorch have really actually kind of led to Azir, as it was already very strong, continue to be strong, but with Sylas out of the picture, expecting that Ahri and Azir to be like very highly prioritized, and that might lead open the opportunity for some focus towards the bot side of the map.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, we do have the coach's interview ready. Let's hop into that now.
일단 최소한의 목표를 했던 플레이오프를 달성하게 돼서 일단은 정말 기쁘고 다행이라고 생각하고 있습니다. 다전제 자체가 일단 뱀픽적으로도 영향이 크지만 분명 그 뱀픽을 바탕으로 해서 좀 더 커진 무대에서 선수들이 얼마나 좋은 경기력을 보여주느냐로 이어져야 되는 게 제일 중요하다 생각해서 그걸로 이제 좋은 결과를 가져다 주느냐가 관건인 것 같습니다. 일단 저희 팀은 아무래도 정글을 중심으로 이렇게 이제 운영을 하는 팀이다 보니까 그걸 바탕으로 라이너들이 얼마나 또 정글한테 힘을 실어줄 수 있느냐가 제일 중요한 것 같아요. DRX도 이제 중심이 베릴 선수라고 생각을 해요. 이 선수의 발을 붙잡아 놓는 게 이제 저희가 경기를 풀어 나가는 데 있어서도 편해질 수도 있고 조금 힘들어질 수도 있는 그런 주요 선수가 될 것 같아요. 선발전, 이제 내승자전, 패자전까지도 이어지는 과정이기 때문에 저희는 꼭 오늘 이길 생각으로만 왔고 꼭 오늘 좋은 경기력 보여드려서 좋은 결과로 보답하도록 하겠습니다.
저희 팀이 정규 시즌 막까지 갈수록 팀 합이 안 맞고 저희 팀의 저력을 보이지 못했다고 생각하고 있어서 팀적으로 콜이나 이제 유기적인 움직임에 있어서 부족한 점이 많다 생각하여 그 부분을 많이 피드백하겠습니다. 샌드박스가 화끈하게 싸움을 하는 만큼 저희도 피하지 않고 저희 팀 나름대로의 전력으로 부딪히겠습니다. 미드 쪽에 인원 분배나 교전이 많이 나올 것 같고 또 오브젝트에서도 싸움이 빈번할 것 같아서 다전제인 만큼 매판 그 점을 피드백하고 보완해서 잘 해야 될 것 같습니다. 아무래도 미드라인 제카랑 클로저 선수 쪽에 좀 교전이 많을 것 같아서 기대되는 부분이 있습니다. 크로코 선수는 플레이 메이킹이나 전체적인 판짜기를 잘하고 프리즈 선수는 좋은 기량을 보이고 있기 때문에 가장 경계된다고 생각합니다. 휘청거린 부분도 있지만 아직 우리 팀의 저력을 전혀 보이지 못했다고 생각하고 이번 계기를 통해서 열심히 해서 보여줬으면 좋겠다. 같이 잘하자. 파이팅!